Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network.
The Oscars, the Academy Awards, are coming up on March 2nd, and this edition of Go is where you want to stay tuned to learn all that you need to know.
Offline and into a scene for Nanaimo, go for gold. Heather Butts checks out the Whistler Sliding Center and keeping love alive for decades.
You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4, and this is one of my favorite times of the year because the Oscars are coming, and I love, and I hope you will too, spending some time with a gentleman named Clint Thornley. We're here at Film Buff Video in Nanaimo, and this man, as you're going to see, is a walking encyclopedia of anything to do with movies, and we're talking to him on this edition of Go Island about the upcoming Oscars on March the 2nd. But we're going to start a little more locally. There's a group in Nanaimo called Nanaimo, and they're dedicated to helping the community through a particular website. And now they've decided to take things offline and into the real world, into the public, by shooting a video at Baby Salsa. It's got something to do with Valentine's Day, and to find out more about what's going on, we're going to throw things over to Rayanne LaPlante. If you'd like to be involved in the Good Business Project, you can go online, www.netnanaimo.com. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Clinton Thornley, an expert in the world of film. You've just come off your annual vacation, which is to the Toronto International Film Festival.
Indeed I did. Saw 35 films in 10 days.
And it's sort of a kickoff to this award season that we're going to talk about in just a couple of minutes. But what was the energy like this year? What were some of the highlights for you?
Well, there were some big get tickets this year, including Gravity, August Osage County. There was big name stars that were there. Julia Roberts was there. Sandra Bullock was there. The entire cast was there for 12 Years a Slave, and that was probably the biggest big get ticket there was at the festival. Benedict Cumberbatch was all over the festival, as was Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter. He had 3 different films in the festival. So there's always a buzz that's there, and there's plenty of stars from Hollywood that are all over town. But this year they kind of organized it a little bit different because the festival's getting bigger and bigger than it used to be. So they kind of have a better way of separating the stars from the citizen paparazzi.
You're at the Toronto International Film Festival. That was late fall, 2013.
Beginning of September, right after Labor Day every year.
Okay, and that kicks off what is now award season.
True. If you're a serious distributor or maker of films and you want to get your film noticed to the Academy, you need to launch it at the Toronto Film Festival. They have over 5,500 submissions of films every year, and they only pick 300 movies. So if you're a serious contender, you want to launch your film at the Toronto Film Festival.
You were speaking earlier about something called the Raspberries?
The Raspberries are the awards for the worst films of the year, usually featuring...
Is it seriously?
They've been doing it for over decades, and they have a lot of fun with the awards. And Halle Berry had won a Raspberry one year, and she showed up with the Oscar she won from Monsters Ball to collect her Raspberry for Catwoman. And Sandra Bullock showed up one time with a tray full of All About Steve copies of the DVD to give the voters a second chance at watching the film. So even some of the stars do show up to collect their Raspberries, and they're humble enough in order to see the fun that it has.
Yeah, so it's not a career killer
not
to
particularly,
receive a
no. Every actor's allowed at least one bad film. So.
Except Adam Sandler, he's got more?
He's got consistently bad films. Ever since Happy Gilmore, I don't think he's made a good one since.
Okay, we're going to talk more later on this edition of Go Island. Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, and timing. What's available now for you to watch before the big show on March the 2nd? We're going to take a short break.
Still to come today, doing 128K at the Whistler Sliding Center, and what does it take to stay in love for 65 years?
Hi, I'm Holly Bright with Crimson Coast Dance Society. Did you know that dance holds a place for beauty?
We're talking Oscars today on Go Island. We're not going to waste any time getting straight into Best Actor, Best Actress. What's your call?
I think the acting awards are going to be split between 3 different films, and that's American Hustle, Dallas Buyers Club, and The 12 Years a Slave. This year, I think Matthew McConaughey has the inside track for Best Actor for Dallas Buyers Club. He underwent a rather dramatic physical transformation to play real-life AIDS activist Ron Woodruff from the 1980s. And his career has taken a big twist lately with movies like Paper Boy, Killer Joe, Mud. He's got away from the pretty boy lawyer roles, and I think this is his year to win. But any of the acting categories could go to any of those three movies, including Christian Bale from American Hustle. I'm not so sure that 12 Years a Slave will pick up the Best Actor award. It's probably going to be getting Best Supporting Actor or Best Supporting Actress awards. But I really think that American Hustle and 12 Years a Slave and Dallas Buyers Club has the inside step on the acting awards, including Jared Leto, who played a transvestite in Dallas Buyers Club. I thought he did a terrific job, and he just came out of retirement in order for this role to jump on the Matthew McConaughey bandwagon, too.
And you're applying that to the ladies, too, in those movies?
With the women, I'd like to see Amy Adams win for American Hustle. I thought she gave a tremendous performance. I haven't seen Judi Dench in Philomena, but it could be her year. She was overlooked in Mrs. Henderson Presents, which I thought she deserved to win for. So I think she's got a good angle on that one. I'm not so sure about Cate Blanchett. She's a terrific actress, but her portrayal in Woody Allen's Blue Jasmine, I thought was a little bit like Blanche Dubois in Streetcar Named Desire, and Vivian Leigh already cornered the market on that one. So.
Okay. Anybody that is blatantly missing, in your opinion?
Tom Hanks probably would have been nominated in a different year for Captain Phillips. I mean, he did a tremendous job as a cargo ship captain getting overrun by Somali pirates, and he's in the film from start to finish, and he was terrific in that movie. In a different year, he probably would have won. But as you see, sometimes it's a crowded field. I mean, Peter O'Toole didn't win for Lawrence of Arabia because that year he was up against Gregory Peck in To Kill a Mockingbird. So in any other year, he would have been a shoo-in.
One of the things we talked about off camera, briefly, if you're looked over one year, the Academy will take that into account in a following year and years to come?
A great example of that is Paul Newman in The Color of Money. He was overlooked for many great roles, be it Cat on a Hot Tin Roof or HUD or anything else, and they kind of felt like they needed to make it up to him. And the same for someone like Martin Scorsese with The Departed. He's been overlooked for so many of his films over the years and lost out to other lesser directors. And so sometimes the Academy try to make up for lost time and reward the right people.
Okay. We're going to come back after we check in with Dan Marshall for another installment of Rapid Fire. We're going to talk about what's available for you to see now, and of course we won't neglect Best Picture. Here's Dan Marshall. Nanaimo is on the road facing Chilliwack on Friday and then Prince George on Sunday. www.nanaimoclippers.com for everything you want to know about hockey in that league. Clint Thornley here to talk about what got missed as far as nominations this year.
A lot of films were talked about before the nominations came out. Movies like Fruitvale Station, which was a great independent film, didn't make the cut. All Is Lost, Robert Redford, Alone on a Boat, didn't make the cut for Best Actor or Best Picture. And the biggest controversy, I think, was for The Butler. That also didn't get nominated Best Picture, but I think the white guilt was satisfied amongst Academy members with 12 Years a Slave. And the movie does have a bit of a Lifetime Channel TV Movie of the Week feel to it, but it is a great film. So there's a lot of films that missed the cut, but they're still great movies.
Okay, now what is available for people to preview now, whether it's through rentals here at Film Buff, through the movie theaters, through Shaw on Demand, and what haven't you seen?
Three of the films I haven't seen for nominees for Best Picture were Her, Philomena, and Nebraska, and I've been told and read about that they're tremendously great films. I don't think they really stand a chance of winning or anything, but the movies that are on available now to the public to see at home or on Shaw on Demand are Best Picture nominees Captain Phillips, Best Picture nominee Dallas Buyers Club, Blue Jasmine, which was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, Best Actress, and Best Supporting Actress for Sally Hawkins and Cate Blanchett. And you're seeing a lot of the documentaries that are out ahead of time, which is unusual. So 4 of the 5 documentary nominees for Best Documentary are available to the public now. And before the Academy Awards airs, Gravity and Nebraska will be available. And shortly after the Academy Awards, 12 Years a Slave and American Hustle are slated for release in mid-March.
Okay, and you can see them, of course, in the theaters.
Still showing in the theaters, yeah.
Okay. When it comes to documentaries, now is a good time to see them while we're in the middle of the season, before they're kind of put on the back shelf.
Well, documentaries and foreign films particularly tend to come out more in the summertime when the collegiate types have more time to review them. But there's never been a bad documentary that I've ever seen, and if it's nominated for Academy Award for Best Documentary, it's worth your time.
Okay, there's one that's standing out from last year already, Sugar Man.
Sugar Man was terrific.
I'm still hearing people talk about
I
it.
still have the soundtrack and listen to it daily.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to throw things over now to sports. From movies over to sports, we are in the middle of the Winter Olympics. Well, not quite the middle yet. They run through until February the 21st. And in honor of that, we're presenting one new story every day with Olympic flavor. We're calling it Go for the Gold. We're starting close to home on the Lower Mainland. Heather Butts checks out what it's like to fly down a sliding track at Whistler at 128 kilometers an hour. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. In true Academy style, we're leaving perhaps the best for the last. Clint, your picks, predictions for Best Picture, Best Director, and they're not necessarily the same thing.
I think the director's going to go a little bit differently this year. I think it's a choice between David O. Russell's American Hustle, which is so well directed. You actually notice how good the directing is watching the movie. And that's what made me think he should win.
Which could be bad, because that could be a distraction.
It could be. There's been years before, though. I don't think it distracted from the film, because the movie does take place in the 70s, and they didn't let the backdrop become too much of a character to distract you from the storyline. But it's the way the camera moves, it's the way the characters interact with each other, it's the look, it's the overall ensemble that makes it look so great. But that takes a good director in order to pull that off. And David O. Russell had Silver Linings Playbook last year and The Fighter from 2 years before. So he's getting better and better as he goes along. But I think that 12 Years a Slave is really the front runner for Best Picture this year. It won top prize at the Toronto Film Festival Award. It has a lot more weight to the issue than does American Hustle. But American Hustle to me is the biggest challenger to 12 Years a Slave. I really think it's a neck-and-neck race between those two films. But another outside dark horse candidate for Best Director might be Alfonso Cuarón, who did Gravity. Certain cameras had to be invented just to pull off that movie, and it's a very impressive science fiction feat.
Okay, well, what's your accuracy rate?
Pretty good. For foreign films, I'm pretty good, but this year I've only seen one of the 5. So in general, I've been right every single year on the foreign picture, and I'm going to go with The Hunt, starring Mads Mikkelsen this year. But I think my track record is pretty good for Best Picture, so I will go with 12 Years a Slave.
Okay, awesome. We're going to tell you how you can get inside Clint's head a little bit more, as we are right smack in the middle of Oscar season now. Valentine's Day is also just around the corner. We would be remiss if we didn't celebrate love just a little. Jocelyn Matwee heads out to the streets to find out what it takes to keep love alive for more than 50 years. That brings us to the end of this edition of Go Island. We want to thank Clint Thornley for all of his knowledge when it comes to movies leading up to the Oscars taking place on March the 2nd. He owns and operates Film Buff Video here in Nanaimo. He also hosts a radio show on CHLY. It's called Film Buff Radio, and it airs at 8 o'clock in the morning on Wednesdays. Clint is very anti-high-tech. He does not email out a newsletter. He doesn't have a website. It kind of drives me crazy, but you have to come in and see him in person, and he will talk movies with you for as long as you want to listen. Thanks for watching this edition of Go Island. We'll see you next time.
Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network. Clothing supplied by Catwalk Fashions. Kate's Hair and Aesthetics provided by Maffeo Salon.